Hi, I'm the Asian sensation Kanji. You're listening to Queen's Court.
Hi guys, this is the Queen of Queens Visage talking, and I am so happy to introduce you to the Queen's Court.
Welcome to this week's episode of Queen's Court, Queeny Suggests, with your girl, the Queen of NE. And I'm super excited because today I have a very, very special guest. From Juice Pro Wrestling Podcast, I have Justin here on the line. I'm so excited to welcome you to Queen's Court.
Yeah, what's going on? How you doing?
Coming with that energy, baby. Yes.
Always.
I know. Well, I'm so excited. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm out of work now. I'm talking to you, enjoying a nice 3 Floyd zombie dust, getting ready to eat some Chinese food after done. So I'm fantastic.
Wow. Living the dream right there.
Living the sweet life.
Hell yeah. So let me just say to you, I was telling you a little bit before we started recording, but your show comes so highly recommended. You come highly recommended. Every time I put out like, oh, who you guys listening to right now? Like, give me some new podcasts. I want to, broaden my horizons, listen to some new people. And I kept getting your podcast. And I was like, all right, I got to check it out. And one of my friends said to me, Queeny, you love metal music. You love rock and roll. You got to listen to this guy. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. And I did. And now I'm hooked. So I would hit you up and I said, listen, I got to have you on a Queeny Suggests. We need to spread this out. I need to tell everybody that I know. So here we are today.
Yeah, here we are now. Entertain us, right?
Yeah, heck yeah. What do you got? No, I'm just kidding. We won't put you on the spot like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I definitely appreciate you having me on. This is it's pretty cool. Anything, I can do to help spread the gospel according to Juice, I'm all about it.
I think that's awesome. So as we do with Queeny Suggests, we're going to start with the basics. We're going to talk a little bit about your wrestling fandom. I want the listeners to get to know you a little bit, know what Juice is all about. And let's start at the beginning. So before we dive in real quick, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I play in a metal band. I've been doing metal grindcore music to really narrow it down for all you out there listening for about 15 plus years now. My current band is Handsome Prick. So go check us out. We're on Spotify and iTunes and all that fabulous stuff. As far as like being a wrestling fan, I'd say it probably started when I was like 4 or 5, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't even know. I've just always liked wrestling. I was a product of the 80s. So like, Hulk Hogan in that whole era. And then once it boomed again in the 90s, it was just on, and there was no looking back. And I think one of the earliest shows I can remember going to, like big events, was WrestleMania 8 in Indianapolis. And then like a bunch of house shows back in the day with like Undertaker and Warrior and all that stuff. And as I got older, I graduated from like WWF, for all you kids out there.
I know, they don't know it now.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't want none. I graduated from that into like WCW and like old school NWA. Used to have a mad collection of like PWI, Pro Wrestling Illustrateds, and I used to love reading those. And it was just something about it that really turned me on. And even during like the rough times, like after the whole buyout of ECW and WCW, I still stuck with it. And thank God it did, because now we're in this like boom period again, and it's like the best it's ever been. But I really do have a passion for pro wrestling in general, and just everybody involved. I mean, for the production side of it to the talent in ring working, I've just been a fanatic about it, and trying to figure out and know everything I can about the business without being a mark per se. I mean, we all mark out for things we like, but
Oh yeah.
I try to keep it cool, because they get enough of that shit,
Yeah, they really do. They really do.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting. Like it ebbs and flows a lot. I feel like a lot of time when we were growing up, it wasn't really mainstream, and people knew about it, but they weren't like
Right.
avid wrestling fans or anything like that. People laugh at you. You say you're a
Yeah.
wrestling fan. Now it's so different. But when you were watching those days, the WWF days, WCW days, who were your people that you like really connected with wrestling wise?
Well, Hulk Hogan. I mean,
Yeah.
it was the main. You know, I
Main
think for
guy.
a lot of people, even the people that don't want to admit it anymore, you know, it's true. Yeah, it was definitely Hulk Hogan. And then, you know, your Ric Flairs, your Dusty Rhodes. I was a huge, absolutely huge fan of like the 80s heels, like Ravishing Rick Rude. I loved his work. I loved, like, if you want to take it down south to the Fabulous Freebirds, those guys. I loved the Steiner brothers. And there's Jake the Snake Roberts. I was a huge mark for him. The Macho Man, yeah.
Ooh, impressions.
Yeah. A lot of those guys. And then in the 90s, it was great because a lot of those guys kind of reinvented themselves, especially with like your Hulk Hogan's, to go from like the number one baby face to the number one heel that the business has probably ever seen. It was remarkable. And it was cool. I loved it because it was cheesy, but yet they were kind of like gangsta like mentality with the NWO and stuff. And, you know, that fake spray painted black beard, and it made you laugh, but it was I don't know, it was just like old school heel stuff, just simple stuff and it worked, you know, as everybody could tell, because that whole thing blew up. But yeah, those are some of my favorite guys like growing up. And then I'd say like the past 10 plus years, I mean, your guys like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, all the early TNA guys when they started off, and you know, they're everywhere now, like WWE and AEW and all that stuff. But yeah, guys like that. And then there's a lot of indie guys out right now, kind of really too many to mention. I don't think you got enough time.
We could probably do several episodes just about that, right? It's crazy.
That is correct.
That is correct. So, you know what's interesting is you mentioned, like, you know, we're in this boom period.
Mm-hmm.
Things are like popping off. I always kept saying that 2019 was just so wild in terms of wrestling. And I feel like 2020 is, my new thing is like, what is even 2020? Things are so crazy right now. And I'm super curious as to what's keeping you personally into wrestling right now. Like, what's got your attention the most?
You know, it's really, I don't want to use that verbiage. It's not really hard to tell, but I mean, it's really a plethora of things. I'm really excited about NWA, and of course, you know, the fact that AEW is still like there's still that buzz for me with that, because I mean, they're in their infancy, you know. Nothing about WWE excites me, and I try to be positive about that, but I don't want to, you know, I don't want to full on like shit on them all the time. But let's face it, when you're bad, you're bad, you know.
That's right.
Impact has made some strides. I've been watching TNA since its inception, and I stuck with them through the thick and thin, and they're really starting to make a comeback, and ROH is turning the corner again. So I'm excited about all that. I'm up in the Chicagoland area, so I got all the great indie feds like Warrior Wrestling, Freelance, Black Label Pro, AAW. They're all out here, so all of that shit really gets my stuff popping. Yeah.
I know you live in a beautiful area for all of that stuff. And I'm from, you know, New England. So I got New York near me. I got Massachusetts near me. I got all sorts of stuff going on. So
you might not have Tom Brady near you though soon, from what I hear.
That's okay for me. I'm not a Patriots fan, so that's just fine.
There you go.
That's right. My team sucks. I love them, but they suck. This is Giants.
Who's that? Who's your team?
New York Giants. That's all right.
The Giants? Oh, that's all right.
I mean, they're terrible, but I love them. It's all good. I do love me some football. But when you're thinking about superstars currently right now, is there a guy or a girl that you're like, this is my dude, this is my chick, like I'm ride or die? You're the one right now that I'm super into.
I mean, there really is a lot of them, to be honest with you. If we want to go like major companies, like I'm super, and my girlfriend is too, super invested in like Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Because you can't get that. I mean, can you swear on here or no?
Of course you can. Yeah. Go for it.
I was censored. This is the most tame I've ever been. What the fuck?
Let it go.
Yeah, let her fly. Cody Rhodes, he just fucking gets that emotion out of you. before I went to work this morning, I recorded our latest episode, which is dropping here pretty soon, episode 98, when Dynamite aired. And, she watched it, and I come home and she's telling me about it. And this morning I get up and I watch the clip of like Cody after the cage match, and he's talking about Dusty, and there's just that real emotion, and it like goes beyond professional wrestling. It's like a son in the ring, like talking about his fucking father, and like he's getting choked up. I'm like ready to go to work. I'm like, man, with a tear in my eye. It's just like that really, he draws emotion from people, and that's what you got to do in the wrestling business. And actually right now there are a lot of entertaining people across all platforms, all brands, all promotions, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think there is anybody as emotionally driven as Cody Rhodes. Like, he really just, you're a fool if you don't get suckered in by Cody Rhodes, then you're a fool. I'm sorry, because that's what it's all about right there.
He really gets it. He really does. He's bridging, I think, a generational gap, and like not even a generational, but like a couple decade gap of wrestling fans. You know what I mean? It's like he's got that old school. He can appeal to those individuals who really like that vibe and like what his daddy was all about and all that stuff. And then he can appeal to the newer fans and the newer modern wrestling fans who like so much different than what it used to be in the 80s and the 90s.
Right.
And he does it really well. And
he dresses really well too.
Man, he's stylish. This man comes out and I'm like, where did you get that coat? Like, that looks so good.
Right.
He's fly. He looks great. But it's such a special thing to see that, and especially with like newer wrestling fans, for them to get that little bit of old school while still getting pulled into our modern era, I think is absolutely dope.
It says a lot, and it speaks volumes for him. And
sure.
I mean, here's the deal. Like, when he debuted with what was it, Ted DiBiase Jr., and they did like what were they called back then? The
oh God, I can
Legacy
picture it.
Or something
Legacies,
like that.
Legacy something.
I couldn't stand him. I could not stand Cody Rhodes. And the moment he left WWE and he started doing his thing with like ROH and like kissing the ring and all that stuff, I started to see, I was like, man, like, this dude's, he's really good. Something's happening here with this guy. And to what he's become now it's just like you said, he bridges that gap. I mean, I myself am like a damn near, a 3-decade plus wrestling fan, that's, I've been through it all, as far as like watching the old school stuff from the 80s to the 90s. And now we're living in this time. It's just amazing. It's amazing what that guy can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and then that brings me to your show. And I think that the experience you have as a fan and what you bring to your podcast, I think is really kind of cool, because you can speak on a lot of different things. And that's what when I personally listen to wrestling shows, I like to listen to people that have a lot of that background, that can do callbacks and give that little knowledge while still keeping relevant and not sticking to one thing. That's what I find really, really cool about you. And you have so many things. You have interviews, and you have a little bit of metal in there, the most recent one, right? I was like, oh, hey, okay. Yeah, so Metalcade 2020, and I was listening to that one, and you do it all. And I'm super curious about it. Like, how long have you been doing this, is my question.
Well, podcasting, give you a little brief behind the podcast real quick. I believe in March, like mid-March, will be 2 years for us.
Nice.
But it's really, I want to say since maybe September is when we really started. Like, that's when I kind of feel like we really started. I mean, we've been going hard, like, since for the last 2 years. We haven't missed a week. We got over 98 episodes done. I skipped episode 27, even though we had an episode. It was like a two-parter. It was a weird thing because I didn't want to be put in the, I like all the dead rock stars at 27. So I wanted to skip episode 27 altogether. So even though we had something to come out anyways, I'm rambling right now. But we've been going hard since September, and we really hit our stride, I think, because we started off, I met my producer, Stretton, like I said, like 2 years ago through a mutual friend, and he was doing this podcast network, and I had talked a couple years ago about doing it with my buddy, because I'm a guy that's like, if you want to talk wrestling, I'm your guy. If you want to talk comics, video games, horror movies, metal, like, it's just, that's my lifestyle. That's who I am. And I have like the gift of gab. So I really wanted to do something in a positive manner and create a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I got started with them, but like I said, they had a network. So you had a music guy, you had like a fantasy football guy, and like they had a movie show. So with me trying to be the nice guy and not step on anybody's toes, I'm like, I fucking love professional wrestling. I don't claim to know it all, because like, let's just face, there's too much to really know. And kudos to the people that do, that can bust out every last millisecond of whatever. Like, I'm not that guy.
Man, God bless, because me neither.
But I do know a lot, and I like to be pretty balanced on my opinions. I usually see both sides in pretty much any subject or situation. So I was like, I'll start a wrestling show and we'll see where it goes. And this was like kind of before everything started really hitting with these promotions. So I started doing that, and I just do my thing. Like I said, I've been doing music for 15 plus years. So it all blends together. I know I have the ability to network and talk to people, and like, hey, I'm doing this. Like, you want to just shoot the shit for an hour, and that's how I've been able to score a lot of guests. Like I've had Bill Alfonso and Sabu and Hammerstone, Joseph Samael, a PCO, Joe Galley, Zicky Dice. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on. But I keep it real with people, and I think that's something that's kind of lacking in a lot of different things I listen to. So, and I think they appreciate that. Like, guys that have come on my show, they can attest to like, hey, well, you didn't ask the same mundane fucking questions. And, we talked about stuff other than wrestling, and I think people love that. So, like I said, 2 years coming up here. We haven't missed a beat every week. As a matter of fact, I started a subsidiary brand called the JP Dub podcast, which is strictly for like arts and entertainment people, like movies, film, music. I actually just wrapped an interview with Athnar from the band Midnight. So I don't know if you've ever heard of them guys, but they're pretty awesome. It's real like black and thrash, kind of like Motorhead meets Venom.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow, a lot going on over there.
Yeah, I try. Like I said, this is like, I never finished college, so this was like my opportunity to like school myself and really shine and talk to people and prove that, hey, I can do something of value and at the same time help other people by promoting what they're doing. And I love talking to people. I mean, I do, as much as I kind of hate people. I do love talking to people, like cool people. It's cool to sit here and talk with you right now. Like that shit to me is awesome. So that's what we do every week. We just try to go hard in the paint and have fun. We do a little bit of comedy on the side. Nothing that feels forced though. It's all kind of like, hey, let's just do it. And it's all kind of fly by the seat of your pants type shit.
Yeah, and I think, you mentioned it before, but I think people really appreciate that. There's a lot of shows that do rundowns and news, and like that's really dope and that's so cool. And there's a few that I follow so I can keep up with all the stuff I can't keep up with, and I think that that's awesome. But for me, like you, I like to have conversations with wrestling fans. I like to have a conversation with my friends about wrestling, and that's kind of what drew me to your show, and why I think other people would like it, because it's like you feel like you're a part of the conversation as opposed to being like, I'm listening to this person tell me everything.
Yeah.
But with you guys, it's like I'm listening to your opinions and I can like formulate my own based off of what you say. And then you show me maybe another side and I'm like, all right, cool. And that's something that's really interesting to listen to. And it's fresh and exciting. And it doesn't feel scripted like a lot of people complain about with WWE, right? It's so scripted. It's like a lot going on. I like a little indie feel to my podcasts, and that's what I feel that y'all have.
And I appreciate that. I mean, I get bitched at all the time by my producer. We gotta have format. And I'm like, man, I like I said, I really just like the spontaneity of it. I mean, we have in recent months kind of developed a skeletal system, if you will, of a format. So like when you say, you know, you listen to, there are a lot of shows and they are good. I'm not knocking them, but it's just,
Yep.
it can be too much and I can't listen to it. It doesn't keep my attention. And there's a lot of ADD people out there, you know, they don't want to sit and run down every millisecond of a card. You know,
Right.
I've had guys like Steve from Warrior Wrestling who runs that.
Yeah, which is great, by the way. That was a great conversation.
Oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Steve's good people. We're actually, we got a little thing I can tell you about here in a second, coming up, an event with him. But I had him on, and we used to, like, when he first started coming on, you know, we'd spend the hour and a half, like, going over every match. And I'm like, you know, like, that's cool, but I don't want to be like these other guys. Like, we could still, like, mention every match that's going to go on, but I only want to spend, like, maybe a minute talking about it. Like, just, I don't want to go into detail. That's for everybody else. That's not me, you know? Like, I just want to get the attention on it. I don't want to go too in depth about it because it's, I don't know. It's just, it bothers me. It's like TMI, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally get it. And would that be the vibe that you guys have and the realness that you have and what you are able to present? Would those be the reasons that you think that people should tune in to your show? Or why should, I guess, people listen to you?
Well, I think people should listen, one, because we're handsome. So you can watch us on YouTube. Two, we put out good vibes, you know? I mean, that's, you know, I put that on my social media. It's like wrestling, but with, you know, comedy mixed in. And like I said, going back to, it's not forced. It's all natural stuff. It's just, if you want to listen to somebody, like, it's like talking to your friends. We are all your guys' friends. That's as simple as I can put it. And it's entertaining. It may not be for everybody. You know, I do a lot of yelling and crazy shit. Yeah. Like that. But, it's, if you just give us a chance, you might like it. And if you don't, hey, that's good too. But we're here for the long haul. And I really think people would be interested in checking us out because you will walk away getting a little bit of everything. You'll get, you know, the laughs. You'll get the knowledge, you know, the information, all that stuff without it's all mixed in. It's all mixed in. And, when we do news segments, we'll do like maybe 5-10 minutes of news. And it's real brief, you know, because we can't cover it all. That's unrealistic. Yeah. I don't want to be like a what culture. I mean, I would like to be a big media entity like that, but I don't want to. I don't know. I just want to kind of do it, go off path a little bit, be a little punk rock about it, you know.
You got to live your life like that. That's how I feel.
Right.
Watch your own music, honey. You don't need to watch to anybody else's.
Yeah.
But, you know, 2020 is going to be absolute craziness with wrestling. And, you know, there's a lot to be excited for. What are some of the things that we should be excited for from your podcast?
Well, the interviews, obviously, for one, I got a couple of guests that I can't mention right now, unfortunately, in the works lined up. But there is, I'll be at AEW at Revolution, so we'll have a vlog up for that, and just be excited for us putting out original content. We're gonna not only, you know, with the podcast, we're coming out with the zine. It's the Juice Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It's gonna have, you know, comics in there. It's gonna have little focus spotlights on wrestlers that we want people to be aware of. Information, write-ups, all kinds of cool shit. And we actually, on March 30th, for anybody out there listening, it's in like the Chicagoland area or Northwest Indiana, we're partnering up with like the best brewery in the entire world, Three Floyds. And they're doing something called Floyd Mania. And what it is, it's a week-long celebration of pro wrestling and craft beer. And I mean, these guys, I mean, they're huge. They do something called Dark Lord Day every year where they get huge bands like Pig Destroyer, Obituary,
wow.
High on Fire, all that stuff. And what it is, it's a week-long celebration, like I said, craft beer, pro wrestling. We're kicking it off with for the first time ever, like in this setting, we're having Matt Nix from Freelance Wrestling, along with Steve and Eric, who run Warrior Wrestling, in like a round table, almost like a table for three type scenario, round table discussion, obviously promoting both their brands, Warrior and Freelance, and sharing memories about, you know, WrestleMania and what they're looking forward to and what they like in the wrestling business. So that's going to be something really cool to check out. And I think people will be excited about it. Once the video and everything drops, It's gonna be good vibes, good atmosphere. And like I said, I preach about like being real. You know, like real motherfuckers get it. They'll like it.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So before I let you, do some beautiful, shameless self-promotion, honey, and let them know where to find you, I gotta ask this question. Metal music, rock music fan to other. What's the song that you put on when you get in your car or truck, whatever you got, and you roll the windows down and you're about to go off? What's the song?
There's a lot right now. It's a song called Get Wet by Pink Machines.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so you can check it there. It's actually Pink Machines is a one-man band. It's my drummer from Handsome Prick, and it's like a rock and grind juggernaut. I mean, it's a mix of everything. And he actually does an Alicia Keys cover on his latest album, which just dropped. So people can check that out at pinkmachines.bandcamp.com. It's also on iTunes and Spotify. And he's also the one that does our theme song. So
which is really fun. I really like that.
Yeah. It gets caught in your head, like Pro Wrestling Podcast.
It's catchy.
But, it's catchy. It's brutal. It's and it's funny, and it's got the Chris Hansen stuff at the end. So it's pretty good.
It is indeed. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today, sharing a little bit of wrestling fandom, sharing a little bit about your awesome show. And I want you to let the kids know where they can come check your stuff out, all of your stuff.
Yeah, well, check us out. We got, if you go on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, we're at Juice Pro Wrestling, on Twitter at JPW Podcast. There is link trees posted in all of our bios, so that will take you wherever. If you want to buy like Handsome Prick merch, any of that stuff, that'll get you everywhere. jpdub.com is a direct link to our YouTube. We come at you every Wednesday with a new episode, and on our YouTube, which is really gaining a lot of momentum right now. It's crazy. I think in January we had like 120 subs, and now it's like, I just checked earlier today, it's like 431 or something.
Dang, look at you.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I like that though. I like people interacting. Like, give us feedback. If, you listen to us on iTunes and Spotify or Stitcher, wherever you listen, YouTube, tell us what you like, what you don't like. If you give a fuck, if you don't, I want some interaction. I like it. We come at you every week. On Wednesdays, we drop new episodes. So be on the lookout for that anywhere you find podcasts.
Oh, that's awesome. I will link them all to you in the description and on the tweet that I put out for this episode. And I just got to say thank you so much again for coming on, sharing some stories with me. And hopefully you and I can work together on the future. We can have a little bit of longer conversation.
Oh, yeah. I'd appreciate that. I really enjoyed our conversation tonight. So everybody keep listening to the Queen. I'm going to have to come wet you up.
Woo! Well, that's Juice from Juice Pro Wrestling Podcast, honeys. Listen to the man. I love it. Oh, I'm getting hyped. I need to go to a concert. All right, anyway, I digress. As always, my babies, please enjoy the rest of your day and be kind to one another.